Hi, friends. This is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about DM Bloodsworth's Shadowdark session that he ran at the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo in January 2025. I was invited to the table, and today I'm going to talk to you about something I did not like in his Shadowdark campaign. Now, I did start if you're like, wait a second, you're just telling me a bunch of stuff you don't like. I already listed a bunch of stuff I didn't like, so you can go back and watch those videos if you want. All right, okay, here we go. So what did I not like in this Shadowdark thing? So in this Shadowdark session. Now, wait a second, Scott. It wasn't a session, it was a one-shot. That's what I don't like. Here we go. Okay, so first of all, hi, my name's Scott Garibay, right? I don't do Dungeons & Dragons the way you do. And the reason why is you and I aren't doing Dungeons & Dragons for the same reason, right? You play Dungeons & Dragons to swill another soda and eat some pretzels and maybe have some fun. That ain't what I am here for. I'm here to use Dungeons & Dragons to crack the world in half and reform it in a better shape, right? I got goals with Dungeons & Dragons, right? I want every single Dungeon Master, every single Dragon Master, every single time they sit down to improve, grow, and transform. This ain't about fun, right? And that's my bar. And if you're dungeon mastering me, you better know it, right? Because I am judgy as all get out, and I got real goals for Dungeons & Dragons. So if you sit me at your table, be warned, right? I ain't there to have fun, ever, okay? And now, that is upsetting to people, and that's one of the reasons why, guess what? You know how many games I signed up for at Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo? 0. You know how many I played in? 2. It's shocking to me, but people invite me on. Hey, each to his own. All right, here we go. Okay. Now, why do I say a Shadowdark session? Here's why. There are no one-shots. The word one-shot is used by fools only. It's a mistake. There are no one-shots, okay? You know what he did? He started a campaign, okay? I mean, wait, no. He just did, no, fool, step back, you're wrong. He started a campaign, okay? What do you mean he started a campaign? Yeah, it's interesting. All right. There are no one-shots. Every single time you sit down with, every time a Dungeons Master sits down with players, and by the way, I know this was a Shadowdark session. Shadowdark is just Dungeons & Dragons boiled to the marrow by Kelsey Dion, right? It's Dungeons & Dragons in my humble opinion. All right, every time you sit down to a Dungeons & Dragons session, right, with any number of players from 1 to 6, right? Or 1 to 7, because there were 7 people at this one. Not 0. I had to, like, if you're playing D&D solo, that's a different video. Let me stay focused, right? When you start and you play, right? What happens, right? When you sit down with a dungeon master and all those dragon masters and all those dice and all those character sheets, what is happening? You're starting a campaign. You're like, oh, no, Scott, the DM Bluddworth is going to continue that campaign. Oh, isn't he? Are you sure about that? Right? What if, okay, there were 2 people at the table who were like, so first of all, it's assumptions. There's a lot of assumptions, okay? So if you're saying you're running a one-shot, first of all, you're making an assumption, right? So like this campaign that we just ran, right? There was 2 people from Texas in this session. If they said, hey, we really had a great time, and they had money, there's no 2 ways about it. These 2 people definitely had cash, right? And they had the money to fly from Texas to Philadelphia, right? Just on a whim, right? And when they got there, I'm telling you, each one of these people had like $100 in dice. Probably, actually, I'm positive, right? Dude next to me had 2 dice that were only available at Gen Con last year, right? Oversized D20s that were special, right? He paid thousands of dollars to travel there and got dice that cannot be bought on any shelf right now. Okay? They have money, right? So if they're like DM Bluddworth, we had a blast, man. we're going to fly you down, next week. We'll put you up overnight, but we want you to run this for us and our friends. You think he's going to say no? And then that campaign continues. And the character sheets they add, right? So it's an assumption to say it's an assumption to say that it's a one-shot. Even further than that, I can tell you right now, DM Bloodworth, when he said it was a one-shot, was wrong, right? There are player characters there's a player character that I breathed life into at that table, right? And I'm going to use it going forward. Am I going to use it as a player character? Am I going to use it as a non-player character? I'm not sure yet. But I'm absolutely going to use Runar the Whisperer. And the reason why is that I did say, is it okay if we keep these? Right? And at the end he said, yes. Right? Now, I didn't create Runar the Whisperer, right, on paper, but I did bring her into the world, right? So first of all, I changed the gender because DM Bloodworth assumed that Runar the Whisperer was a male, right? And I can understand, he created this character initially, but once it was handed to me, and then once I was given permission to take it away from that table, it's mine, right? So you can bet Runar the Whisperer is going to find herself in New Worlds, at least one, right? In at least one more campaign. So the reality is it was not a one-shot, it was a campaign. The question is, who's going to witness that campaign, right? There's a good chance me and DM Bloodworth live in different states. I highly, and I'm going to have a desire to run that. Actually, I'm running Dungeons & Dragons this week, right? So I can run Runar the Whisperer this weekend, right? So it's highly unlikely that he'll even witness where these player characters that were born in his campaign are from. And now this is really important. I cannot stress this enough to you, right? Dungeons & Dragons is real. Dungeons & Dragons matters. When you pull people together and you pull them down to the table and you roll those bones, man, the moment the action starts, every player character at that table is outside of the control of the initial group that it was in. Anybody can pick that piece of paper up, walk elsewhere, and take those player characters into new worlds. So that means there's never a one-shot. There is only an infinite, eternal campaign, right? And the only people who use the term one-shot are fools. Fools and control freaks, right? Understand, every time the dice roll under Gary's legacy, it is a campaign. It is an eternal, infinite campaign. And we must kill the language of one shot. And the reason why is it's used by people with small vision who don't understand what is actually happening at the table and do not understand the importance of Gary's legacy and the importance of this new human narrative that the most charismatic, confident, and intelligent people on the planet are engaged in, right? Which is an eternal, infinite campaign, right? That we really do not have no one understands exactly how far the ramifications go for how far each one of these player characters will reach. Or so basically, when you run at a convention, when you run anywhere, don't ever use the term one shot again, because it's not a one shot. And quite literally, I saw this, right? One of the guys at one of the I played in 2 games, and in the other game, at the end, I said, "Hey, can I keep this?" Right? And the dungeon master was like, "Yes, you can keep that." Right? Go with God. And when the other ones was like, and he said, "Or I can take them and I can use it as an NPC." Right? And the player next to me said, "Oh yeah, here, take this piece of paper." Right? And I love the idea that it's going to be an NPC in your game. And I'm like, you ridiculous fool, man. You know, and I kept my mouth shut at the table because everybody was at a convention, and you know, but I'm like, you did nothing. You did nothing at this table, right? I would never, ever allow a player character that I used to go into anyone else's hands, right? If there was anything reasonable or even kind of unreasonable that I could do to get it, because I breathed life into this identity. This identity is mine. Now, its temporal, physical anchor is that player character sheet, right? But the reality is like, and that's the point. Is this guy's a one-shot player? I never played a one-shot in my life. I'm involved in an eternal, infinite campaign that is multiversal, right? That's why we're talking about the multiverse, right? But if you believe the word one-shot, everything you create is crap. It's not worth anything to you, and it shouldn't be worth anything to anybody else, right? That player did nothing at the table to be remembered. And that's why he was willing to let that player character go. He doesn't understand that every identity he creates and breathes life into is part of an eternal, infinite campaign, right? Don't ever use the word one shot. Don't ever be in a one shot. And understand, any fool using the term one shot, you should not sit at their table because they don't know what they're doing, in my humble opinion. Now, Dean's Bluddworth did a great job dungeon mastering this. I'm going to grandfather him in, right? I do think he used the term one shot. But the thing is, the world just hasn't recognized what I'm saying. I'm right. The world just hasn't recognized it yet. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing and have a fetch millennium.